Today I'm going to show you how to make a more realistic baby octopus. Alright, so for the baby octopus, you're going to need an 8-peg loom, your 24-peg loom, 1 stitch marker, a needle, and your loom hook, a pair of scissors, and about a handful of stuffing. So the first thing we're going to do is cast on with our main body color. So we're going to make a slip knot. You're going to lay the yarn across 2 of your fingers here like this. Wrap the yarn around your fingers. Put it on the back and push that through to make a loop. Hold on to this tail and the yarn and pull that loop tight. Then you can put the loop onto your anchor peg. We're going to do a drawstring cast on, so go behind the first peg, in front of the second peg, behind the third peg, and zigzag like that. When you get back to the first peg, you're going to go behind it again, and then knit over every time there is yarn across the peg. So you're going to knit over on peg 2, skip peg 3, just yarn over, and then knit over on the next peg. When you get back, when your cast on is done, you get back to peg 1. There's no yarn on peg 1, so you're just going to have to lay it across and knit over on peg 2, and that'll anchor your yarn in place so that you can let go of it. And we're going to do 1 row, so continue knitting from peg 3 and 4, and you're going to go all the way around. And then you're going to add in your color for the suckers. So to do that, I'm going to make another slip knot, and it might be easier to see without the fluff, so I'll show you again. Lay it across your 2 fingers, wrap it around, push it in through the back, pull up a loop, hold on to both sides of the yarn, pull that tight, and we're going to put this on peg 1 because it's the peg next to your working yarn. You're going to take your working yarn and your tail here and tie those together, just a regular knot, keeping it tight to the left side. Then hold on to the tail and the working yarn. Take the slip knot off of the first peg and just pull the knot out. Now you've got your 2 colors that you're going to be working with. So the first thing we're going to do is take your stitch marker, stick it on the yarn on peg 1, pop your sucker color across peg 1, and then take the stitch marker, pop it over, and that's going to be row 1 for this scallop stitch. You're going to take it back across again, knit over, that's row 2, back to the right, that's 3, back to the left, that's 4, and keep going like that. 5, 6, and 7. Bring your stitch marker back up onto the peg, take the stitch marker off, and then you can take your regular yarn for the body, and you're going to take both of those loops up and over, then tighten your sucker color. Knit the next peg, and then on peg 3 we're going to do that again. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. You can bring up both loops at the same time if you want, but it might be a little bit tight. Or you can just do them one at a time. Grab the body color and then grab the sucker color. Just be careful if you're doing your secondary color by itself, because you could end up pulling it too much and having a huge loop here. Don't forget to tighten it, and then continue knitting for the rest of the row. And that was row 2. Row 3 is just going to be knit. So you're just going to knit the row like normal. And that's your 2-row repeat. So for row 3, you're going to take your stitch marker, put it onto peg 1 again, and you're just going to bring the yarn from your peg 3, make sure it's nice and tight. You're just going to bring it over and wrap it around peg 1. Just like that. And then you're going to do your 7 rows for your scallop stitch, and just continue on like that for 30 rows. So you're going to end up with 15 rows of scallop stitches, and then 15 rows in between each row of scallop stitch with just knitting. Once you get 4 sets done, so that's your first row, and then a scallop row, just a knit row, scallop row, just a knit row. So you should have 9 rows finished. You're going to want to turn it over and pull this extra fluff through. Also release the yarn from the anchor peg, which I always forget to do. There we go. And you're going to sew this closed. So pull the drawstring. Make sure it's nice and tight, but depending on your yarn, be careful because it can break. We're going to thread the needle. And send it through to the other side. And pull that up so you know what you're working with. Make sure the hole's completely closed. You're going to find the hole if you can, and make a pass or two. And then just on either side of the hole. Then you're going to pull up a loop, go on the opposite side of that loop, go in through, and then pull that tight. That's your knot. Now you can stuff this back down, make sure all the tails are in there, and you can continue. You can also start to see some of your little scallop stitches coming through. Once you finish your last set of scallop stitches, you can go ahead and cut the yarn for your secondary color and tie that onto the working yarn of the body to secure it. And then you can continue with your in-between rows. So finish off the scallop stitch row. Do your one more to finish the set. And then you can do 3 more just knit rows. Once you have those 3 rows done, we can do the cast off. So we're gonna measure 1 length around the loom, cut it, and then you're going to wrap the peg and knit over and then pull through. Half wrap your peg, knit over, and pull through. So you knit the peg just like you've been doing, but then you just pull through. Once it's free of the loom, grab your needle. We're gonna tighten, whoops, well, you're gonna tighten this as much as possible. It's okay, we could still work with this. In case your yarn breaks. Let's see. I'm gonna insert so that the broken tail and your new tail are next to each other. I'm gonna tie those together. So that the broken tail doesn't go anywhere. and then continue to make a stitch or two. And then just make your knot like normal. Then all you have to do is thread your needle on each of these tails, unfortunately, and stick them inside your project. That's one, and I can probably do two of these together. Okay. Crisis averted. So you're gonna have a section on the end here with no scallop stitches, and this is gonna be the inside edge of your arm for the octopus. So when you put them all together, I'm making a rainbow one. When you put them all together, you're going to start sewing them together on this end. And then this end will be the suckers. Okay, once you get all 8 legs done, you're gonna set them up so that the 3 extra rows are all on the same side. Thread your needle with a length of preferably worsted weight yarn, so that it won't break. You're gonna make a little stitch in the side of the first leg and tie a knot to secure it. And then go in through the side of each of your legs. So just about in the middle of those 3 extra rows. Don't worry about being too precise with it, because we're going to have to go around a couple of times to get the right shape. Okay. Once you've got all 8 of them, you're going to go through the first one more time to complete the circle. Fold them all in so that the suckers are all on the inside, and then you're just going to tighten that as tight as it will go. And then make a knot You might have a hole in the middle, that's okay, we'll fix it. We're just gonna go through the very tops of all of these. If you do end up with a hole in the middle, make sure you do all 8 of them and go through the first one more time. And then pull that tight. No more hole. Might be there a tiny bit. There we go. Gonna make another knot. If you've got worsted weight yarn, you can feel free to pull on it as tight as you want, because it shouldn't break. If you do break it, I will be impressed. Get back. Okay, next, now that this is flat and your hole is either gone or mostly gone, we're gonna want these to stand up a bit. So send your yarn through to the other side. And we're gonna start picking up close to the suckers, maybe a little closer. There we go. Okay, and just go through all of them. And the first one more time. Okay, pull that tight. And it should give you, let me see. Oops. a bit more of this shape. And if it's not enough, you can always go around again. I think I'm gonna go around again. Once you're satisfied, you can make your knot. There we go. And it just sits in this position. Next, we're going to sew the legs together just a little bit. So, pick a leg, and you're going to go in and come out just at the top there. On the side of the suckers for one leg, and then go and make a stitch right on the top on the side of the suckers for the leg right next to it. And we're just gonna go 3 or 4 suckers down. About that far. Pull it tight, but not too tight, because you will scrunch up your tentacles. And we're gonna go through this arm and come out back at the top. Okay, so now we're at the top again, and we're gonna just make a stitch on the other side, and again just come down 3 or 4 suckers. And then go through and up to the top again. And we're going to do that all the way around. Once all your legs are sewn together, that should be all the sewing for the legs. So we're going to just send this up through the middle. Tie it with the other tail. That you made when you first tied on your yarn. And then to put these tails in through and hide them. Just by picking an arm and sending it through. And there's your legs done. Bit of work, but next is the head, and that's gonna be way easier. So for the head, you're gonna want your 24 peg loom. We're gonna drawstring cast on again. So once again, you're going to go behind the first peg, in front of the second peg, behind the third peg in a zigzag pattern. And then knit over every other peg. Okay, once your cast on is done, it's really simple. We're just going to knit 25 rows. Once you have your 25 rows done, you can go ahead and do the drawstring cast off. So you're going to wrap your loom one time to measure out the yarn. Snip that. And same as before, you're just going to knit a peg and pull through, and we're going to do that all the way around. Once your project is free of the loom, you can go ahead and stretch your stitches. Find the cast on tail and pull that tight. Thread your needle. And knot it on the inside. Okay. Next, you're going to take your handful of stuffing and you don't want to stuff the whole thing because you want the head to be a little floppy. So I'm going to take some of this out. Grab your legs And instead of putting it, let me see, instead of putting it directly on top like this, we're going to lay it to one side. This might not be long enough. Actually, I know it's not long enough. Don't mind the noises in the background, that's my cat knocking things over. And then just sew all the way around. Don't forget to put your safety eyes on if you're going to use them before sewing the head on. I'm going to embroider them, I think. But after you're done sewing, you can make your knot, send the needle through anywhere. Snip that tail. And you're done. I'll add eyes after. Okay, I did the eyes. Okay, and that's it. Sewing is a little much, but overall he's not that complicated. Thanks for watching.